Hey, what's up, everyone? So, Psalms 22. I heard a sermon about this recently, so I wanted to talk about it because this psalm is um, painted as the crucifixion psalm by most apologists, and there's a couple reasons. Uh, there's language in there that talks about like dividing up the clothing of the author. And Jesus had his clothes divided. They cast lots for it and stuff like that. The language in the crucifixion scenes are reminiscent of Psalms 22 to some extent. And even in one of the gospels, he even cries out the same thing that David starts the psalm with. My God, why have you forsaken me? But the real interesting one comes in verse 16 or 17, depending on what kind of Bible you're looking at. There's a word that is translated as they pierced my hands and feet, or a sentence. They pierced my hands and feet. And it's like, people are like, wow, crucifixion didn't even exist then. How could they have predicted that? Well, first of all, Psalms 22 wasn't a prophecy. But the more interesting issue is the word that is rendered as pierced. Let's take a look at it. Okay, this is Chabad.org. It's a Hebrew Masoretic text thing. This is verse 17 for them. And this is the word here. This is what is found in Hebrew. These little letters are a Kaf, Aleph, Resh, and Yod, I think is what that one is. I might be wrong about that. Anyway, this word says Ka'ari. Now, what does Ka'ari mean? It doesn't mean pierced. Ka, as a prefix, means like a simile. So if you put this in front of a word, it means like. And then the rest of it, Ari, means lion. Interestingly enough, little side bit, the name Ariel means lion of God. So the little mermaid is a lion of God. Anyway, so this word literally means like a lion. And that's what they translated in the Hebrew Bible. So why do all of our English ones say pierced my hands and feet? Well, we're not really sure. So there's speculation. Like they say, well, maybe this is like a misspelling of kara, which is a word that means dig or bore. But that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because kara does not have an aleph in the middle of it. It's just kaf resh hey. Kara, not ka'ara. And it'll be ka'ari anyway. But so I don't think that's the correct interpretation. And we see this exact same word, ka'ari, in Isaiah 38:13. Let's go over there. Okay, here it is. Ka'ari. The ka looks a little bit different because it doesn't have one of the little doodads on the top. I think that's called a garish. I don't know exactly what it means. It has something to do with the fact that it's supposed to be chanted, I believe, and that makes sense if it was in Psalms. But in Isaiah 38, this is a prophecy to Hezekiah, so it's not like a song or anything. But you can go back and forth between these, and you can see these letters are the same. And it means like a lion. So Ari and Arieh is used many times in the Bible to refer to a lion. Now the weird thing is, In the oldest copy of Psalms 22 that we have, it says ka'aru, which is like, it's like this, except the last letter is elongated. And that changes it from an I sound to a U sound. The weird thing is ka'aru is not found anywhere else in the biblical text. So to me, the most likely situation here is that Psalms 22 originally had ka'ari, and somebody screwed it up because ka'aru is not a word. So it doesn't really, to me, it doesn't really flow all that well. Like a lion, my hands and feet, or like a lion at my hands and feet. At my hands and feet makes more sense. Pierced my hands and feet makes more sense too to my English brain, but we don't know exactly the reason this person was writing this. It was a lamentation for sure, and sometimes ancient people would omit little bits of it to kind of show the desperation of their lamentation. So just get the point across, like a lion, my hands and feet, and it's just like you're supposed to fill it in yourself. That could be a reason. But I think the more interesting reason that this should not be rendered as pierced is that Hebrew actually has multiple words that mean pierce that they probably would have used if that's what they meant. So let's look at. So in Hebrew you have multiple words for pierce. So you have dakar, and you see the Hebrew here does not look like ka'ari, right? It's different letters. Primitive root verb meaning to pierce, thrust through, or stab. And then they give you an example of where it's used. And then they have nakav. Also does not look like ka'ari, pierce, bore, or hollow out. Kara, like we said earlier, this is the closest one, means to dig, but it's usually referring to dig in the soil, like dig a well. And it's omitting an aleph, the A sound. So this shouldn't be a misspelling of kara, unless there's something that we don't know yet. And there's other ones. Halal means to pierce, profane, or wound. And then nakeba is similar to nakab. So there are plenty of different words they could use, and only one of them looks sort of similar to the one that's actually in Psalms 22. But even that is not the best word to use to signify pierced, and it is missing a letter that would be in the word for Psalms 22. So, did it say, hey, pierced my hands and feet? Probably not. There's no real way to know for sure, but based on context clues, I think ka'ari is supposed to mean like a lion. And that's what the Hebrew text renders it as. And if we're going to go place our bets on who is right about the Hebrew language, I'm going to go with the Hebrews. Let me know what you guys think.